Some epitaphs were written to comfort, some to preach. But time's a prankster. Now, those same words read like threats, curses, or inside jokes from the dead. They didn't mean to be funny. They didn't mean to be creepy. They're just aged badly. These are the graves that turn themselves into ghost stories. This is Unintentionally Haunted. Walk through any old cemetery long enough and you'll find them. The accidental comedians of the afterlife. A stone cracked by weather that reads, "Safe at last." Lightning disagreed. Another that says, "Gone but not forgotten," and its name completely worn away. I've seen that one way too many times. And then there's the headstone that simply reads, "Forever together," with one side of the double plot still empty a century later. These messages were once tender, honest, meant to soothe the living, but time has this dark sense of humor. It strips away meaning, context, even names, and what's left behind feels like a wink or a warning. A gentle line like "Remember me" stares up from a grave no one's visited in decades. Another reads "Gone home," carved next to a church that's now abandoned. They start to sound like riddles, like the dead aren't resting, they're whispering. One headstone reads, "Nothing can go wrong now." It cracked clean in half on a still night with no wind. Another says, "Rest in peace," standing alone at a roadside cemetery that's become a hotspot for car accidents. Locals say the headlights flicker when they pass. A grave marked "We'll meet again" had a second line carved years later, smaller, shaky, and bitter. "We didn't." That's funny. Some stones carry humor that only gets funnier with time, like one that reads, "Waiting for my wife." The space next to him, well, it's still blank. Maybe she took the hint. Or one that says, "Well done," underneath a mason's marker that's been slowly sinking into the ground for a century. Some people leave flowers anyway, not sure if they're paying respects or apologizing for laughing. None of this was planned. Sometimes the universe edits our messages. Maybe that's why cemeteries feel alive. Not because ghosts linger, but because language does. These stones are my favorite kind of creepy. No demons, no curses, just meaning warped by time, irony, and weather. It's like history is trolling us. Some poor widow in 1890 poured her heart into choosing a line like "Gone too soon," and now it sits next to a gravestone for a 94-year-old with the same phrase. Context is a little savage beast. I think that's what fascinates me, or how words outlive us and how we lose control over what they become. You carve "always watching over you" into marble, and 100 years later, some teenager sees it at dusk, sprints out screaming. Or "see you soon," which I'm convinced should be illegal on a tombstone. It sounds like less comfort and more like a threat. But I get it. People wanted to be remembered. They wanted their love, their grief, their humor to stick around. And it did, just not in the way they expected. Maybe that's the real haunting, not the ghosts, but the echoes, the ones we didn't mean to leave. And honestly, if a stranger 100 years from now stands over my grave, reading my words and laughing, then I think that's kind of immortality. If I ever get a tombstone, maybe I'll just have to say "draft pending" or "this seemed funny at the time." This is more up my alley anyway. Because nothing is more human than meaning well and being misunderstood forever. Intentions fade, stone stays, and long after we're gone, our words keep whispering, sometimes comforting, sometimes confusing, and sometimes just weird enough to feel alive. Until next time, stay curious and always, always stay haunted.